SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide. Let's look at the legal profession. Now, the legal profession is built on trust that lawyers will act ethically, safeguard client funds, and uphold the integrity of the justice system. But regulating such a vast and evolving profession is no small task. The Legal Practice Council, established under the Legal Practice Act, carries the responsibility of protecting the public interest while ensuring accountability within the profession. From trust accounts and audits to the critical role of Fidelity Fund Certificates, compliance is not just formality, it's a safeguard. Now, joining us this afternoon to unpack the challenges of regulation, public protection, and why Fidelity Fund Certificates matter is Caron Jeaven, Western Cape Provincial Director of the Legal Practice Council. Caron, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Full Circle.
Thank you, Shayla.
To set the scene, what is the core mandate of the Legal Practice Council, and why is its role so critical, both in public and in the legal profession?
The role of the Legal Practice Council is encapsulated in Section 5 of the Legal Practice Act. And there are a number of objectives contained in that section. But largely what we do is regulate the legal profession. So we regulate the conduct of all legal practitioners and candidate legal practitioners, that is, with a focus on protecting and promoting public interest. So one of the ways that we do this is to ensure that all firms of attorneys and those practitioners who are required to hold Fidelity Fund Certificates do in fact submit and comply with all the requirements on an annual basis, and then are able to apply for the Fidelity Fund Certificate. So the Fidelity Fund Certificate basically ensures that when a client pays money into an attorney's trust account, that money is protected. So if anything happens to that money, the client is able to submit a claim to the legal practitioner's Fidelity Fund, and depending on the facts of the matter, that claim will then be paid out. So that is one of the main ways the Legal Practice Council protects the interests of the public.
Caron, non-compliance remains a concern. Now, why are there issues around trust accounts and audit submissions treated as partially serious red flags? What's the context there?
So you would think you're paying money into an attorney's trust account, right? You would want to know that money is properly accounted for in compliance with the provisions of the Legal Practice Act. So all firms are required to hold trust accounts. And you can't just open a trust account and take money. You have to properly account for that. You have to have proper books of accounts, and you have to have a properly appointed accountant to make sure that this is done. So the Legal Practice Council checks on an annual basis that firms comply with that. Non-compliance opens up not only the profession but members of the public they become vulnerable because their money they're not properly accounted for, money can go missing, and that just leads to instances of misappropriation, or rather makes practitioners and members of the public vulnerable to misappropriation. So it's for that reason that we are very vigilant about non-compliance. We view non-compliance as a red flag, because it may very well be that it's simply an administrative issue, or it could be a sign of greater issues in that practice, which we then need to go in and investigate properly.
And for those who are listening, Caron, who might need clarity on the Fidelity Fund Certificate, please give us the full context.
So a Fidelity Fund Certificate is basically a certificate that is issued on an annual basis to all practitioners, whether they're attorneys or advocates who are holding trust accounts. So those certificates essentially mean that practice is compliant with the rules, and it can receive and manage trust monies on behalf of clients. So practitioners are, as I said, are required to hold that certificate. Those are directors and partners at firms or trust account advocates. And at law firms, if you are a junior practitioner, you don't hold the certificate yourself. but the senior practitioners in that firm are required to hold Fidelity Fund Certificates. So we urge members of the public to check with their practitioners, with their lawyers, do you hold a Fidelity Fund Certificate? They can also access the LPC website to check that that practitioner is compliant and holds Fidelity Fund Certificate, or access the Legal Practitioners Fidelity Fund website to check that those practitioners hold a current Fidelity Fund Certificate.
And Caron, given that there's this annual renewal of the certificate, in the context and in the case where a practitioner is found without a certificate, a valid certificate that is, how does this endanger the client?
So that would mean monies that are paid into that account will not receive the protection of the Fidelity Fund. That means that should that money go missing, the Fidelity Fund may not pay out or the money that was stolen or misappropriated. Hence, we say, please check that if your practitioner, your lawyer, has a Fidelity Fund Certificate or is practicing under the protection of a Fidelity Fund Certificate.
The voice there of Caron Jeaven joining us this afternoon. That is the Western Cape Provincial Director of the Legal Practice Council. Send through your questions. Find us on WhatsApp 061-410-4107. On X, it is at SAfm Radio. And lastly, if you want to send through a text message, it will come at the cost of R1.50, 41391. A quick breather, then we get back into the conversation. 20 after 2 p.m. We are still in conversation with Caron Jeaven, who is the Western Cape Provincial Director for the Legal Practice Council, and we're looking at regulating the legal profession, taking accountability, the challenges, and of course the role of the Fidelity Fund Certificate. Caron, I want to talk about regulating this body, the profession body, right, the legal professional body, and the diversity that currently exists and the challenges that come with it. Walk us through that.
So the challenges that we face within the profession is that we are bound by the provisions of the Act, which require us, when we're investigating a complaint, to follow that process quite strictly. So it often leads to impressions that we are taking too long to investigate a complaint. However, that is not the case. We are merely following the provisions of the Act to ensure compliance with the Act process, so that the complaint is properly investigated. So if I may then just take a step back here, when you talk about the diversity of the profession, I think it must be borne in mind that we regulate in excess of 41,000 legal practitioners, practicing legal practitioners, and a similar amount of non-practicing legal practitioners. So that's a vast constitution of people. But unfortunately, it is the 5% who give us a sort of a bad rep, for the want of a better expression. And they are the ones that cause us to sort of having to do all of this investigation of complaints and basically cause problems. And so the challenges that further challenges that we face is obviously with the advent of technology. We want to keep abreast of that. We want to sort of look at ways it needs to keep abreast of that to ensure that we can assist practitioners and members of the public to protect the interests of the members of the public as well as the interests of the profession.
Caron, are we seeing positive benefits from technology and the advent of the developments within technology?
We would like to think that yes. I would say yes, we are. We are still at the cusp of that. We're still looking at ways to improve our systems and our service delivery to our practitioners and members of the public. But I think that is the way to go, and we can only but improve and our promotion of the interests of the public as well as service to the profession, thereby improving compliance and limiting risk to both members of the public and to the profession.
Caron, there is a voice note that has come in for you. Perhaps yours is to cater to the question at hand.
Hi,
Yes.
Shayla. Um, Maybe you're speaking to the Western Cape LPC. Look, I have a question, man. My brother had a rough claim that was processed successfully by a law firm in Cape Town. But after the claim was successfully processed, the law firm then went on and set up a curatorship and appointed a different lawyer to manage the funds on behalf of my brother. Now, this was not part of what RAF had settled. There was no recommendation for his funds to be managed by a curator. Can they legally do that? And what recourse do we have? It's Mr. X in East London.
Caron?
It's very difficult to respond to queries like that without having all the information at hand. If I could urge the caller to please submit all the details to the info@lpc.org.za address for the attention of Cabello. He will ensure that it gets sent on to me, and I will then have a thorough investigation of the facts and get back to the caller on that.
I think as a parting shot, Caron, what message does the LPC want to send to law firms and practitioners about accountability, about public trust and their shared responsibility? I know that you said that it's only 5% of the 95 that you're handling that are giving the bad rep, but let's address it holistically, I suppose.
So the LPC, I think, wants to encourage legal practitioners to ensure compliance, to ensure accountability. A simple thing is keeping up to date with your clients, because we see, by and large, complaints come because practitioners aren't communicating effectively to their clients, they aren't keeping their clients up to date. So if we could urge practitioners to ensure accountability, to ensure some transparency in their communications with their clients, to keep their clients up to date, to put it quite simply. And in so doing, they will then foster further confidence in the legal profession, and they will also then assist us in ensuring compliance and limiting the amount of investigations that need to be done. It is basically just appealing to practitioners to please comply where they need to comply. The 95% we know are doing what they're required to do, but if the 5% will then also approach the local LPC offices and explain what their difficulties are, and we could try to assist. It is, again, just an emphasis on communication and transparency with clients.
Caron, thank you so much for joining us. Before I release you, for those who have just joined the conversation and would like your services, could we just get that contact detail again?
It's info@lpc.org.za. Attention, Cabello.
All right. Caron, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Sheila.
The voice there of Caron Jeaven, who is the Western Cape Provincial